Welcome back to season 2 of the Katie Wellness Show. I am back with more amazing tools, awesome interviews, and some great discussions to help you optimize your health, body, mind, and spirit. Not only can you use these tools every day, you can also teach them to your children and to your family members so that you can raise emotionally and physically resilient children, so that you can show up more in your life, that you can take back your personal power. Get ready to tap into your intuition. I'm so excited that you're here. You are worthy of health and of joy and of thriving in your motherhood, thriving in your life. Thank you for being here today.
I heard your episode. I heard your episode where you said you were taking a little break. I'm like, good for you. And yet here we are recording this in July. So hopefully
Yes.
there's no rush on my end to get it out.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I needed a break, honestly, to reevaluate, to see what is working, what is not working. Do I
Yeah.
love the podcast? And without it, I was like, I miss conversations like this. I
Mm,
miss connecting with people in this way. So this one was one of the first things that I'm like, yes, I want to bring it back. I
okay.
miss it. It's worth it.
I can see that because I started doing podcasts just in May. I started pitching myself and I really was just so tired of trying to do the hustle of like SEO and have the algorithms find me that I'm like,
Yes.
what I really love is just having authentic conversations and cross pollinating with other cool people. And maybe it's way slower than paying for a bunch of SEO, but it doesn't feel gross. And it's
Yes.
been so life giving. It's been so wonderful to have conversations because I'm a solo provider. I've been doing this for 18 years solo. And so just to hear other people and listen to your podcast to get ready to record and hear different ideas, it's really fun.
Yeah. Well, and my perspective, I love it because I am always searching for other alternative modes of therapy,
Yeah.
alternative care
Yeah. Your
options for
story is
people.
great.
Yes, like for people who are just done with the medical system or done with, oh, here's what's wrong, take this medication. Like for people who are just done with that,
Yeah.
I want to provide tools and resources and no, you don't have to stay on this hamster wheel of
Yeah.
your blood work looks normal, come back
Yeah.
in 6 months. And it's like, no, I feel like garbage.
Yeah, I literally am not functioning. Yeah. And my husband has a couple of an autoimmune situation and a genetic deletion that leads to some neurological changes. And he just gets so stressed about going to doctors because, of course, you want to make sure you're not missing anything giant that leaps out. But so often it's subclinical or it's something they haven't discovered yet, or if they know what it is, they don't have a really good treatment for it. So we can talk about all that. But yeah, there's so much in alternative holistic stuff that
Yes.
does it well. So
Yes.
yeah.
My mind has been opened to all the alternative.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to talk with you today. I've had friends and clients that have been trying to conceive for years who have been on IVF treatments. And I'm curious for you to tell me and also my listeners more about your approach to fertility and how you help women support through this time.
Yeah. So I think the main thing that is different about how I approach it is I really want to flip the ratios, whether it's fertility or pregnancy after fertility or care for perimenopause as I'm in my late 40s. And so, what I think we historically tend to do is we put almost 100% of our attention on the reductionistic, siloed fixes and bits and pieces. And we miss the wholeness and the human experience and the connection of all the dots between. So the main difference is it's not that I wouldn't want people to do IVF. I think IVF can be amazing. And sometimes fertility is a really complicated biological situation. It's just we want to put that in the right ratio. So there's something called salutogenesis, which is the idea of health creation, not just treating disease. And And the research around it says that about 75% to 80% of our outcomes for anything are about being well, not treating disease. And so, like, yes, maybe you're doing IVF. Yes, maybe you need to figure out what your blood work and your hormones show. But if we can put back in the whole person, then those treatments are more likely to show up. And sometimes they're not needed. A lot of times when people have the time and they're not in the thick of it and they start working on the bigger picture and connecting the dots, that's enough to not have to go into that reductionistic kind of treatment, which is really fun too.
Yes. Well, and that's where my work, I feel like, thrives because so much when we are having health challenges, we get blinders on of this is the problem, this is what I have to fix. But like
Yeah.
you're saying, when we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it's more than just hormones. It's I'm so stressed focusing on these things, or
Yeah.
I'm over exercising, or I'm under eating, or I'm not getting the right nutrients that my body needs, or I have a toxic overload, right? Like there's so many pieces to this puzzle.
And even to take it a level higher than that, then how do you approach those things, right? Because if you approach them with even more blinders, now I just have to fix. I'm reading every label. I'm obsessing over what I'm eating. I can't go to this function because there's nothing there that I can eat. And I'm taking these hundreds of dollars a month of supplements. It's like now we're trying to fix in an equally reductionist. I call it faux holism, where it's like you're trying to be holistic, but it doesn't register that way. So we have to, even bigger than that, we have to connect the dots in a way that actually serves our quality of life and our joy and our connection. And then it shows up because we could do all the things in a rigid way and it doesn't.
Yes, life is definitely more than just checklist,
Yeah.
more than just take all the supplements, more than just, oh, this is wrong. Okay, I can do this one thing to fix it.
Yeah.
I feel like tapping more into ourselves and into our tuition and really listening to our bodies and what they're asking for
Yeah.
and kind of letting the rest go. Like, what does my body need the very
Yeah.
most?
Yeah. And often it's not the stuff in the fertility books. The fertility books are this nutrient, this diet, this heart rate maximum for exercise, this many minutes, but it's like joy or a new puppy for a great distraction and a whole bunch of oxytocin coursing through our bodies or hobbies or spirituality, faith, connection, all these things that are so human and bigger and honestly trump so much of those technically correct things in the vacuum with I call them the baby blinders. So you said the blinders right off the bat. I
Mhm.
call it baby blinders in fertility, where it's like, is it for a baby? If it's not in a book about a baby, it doesn't count. It's like, well, you're not going to see a puppy in there, but I love it when people are like,
A
I'm not putting
pup.
my life on hold. And it
Yes.
could be a different job, could be going on that vacation, could be, all the ways that we're like, well, I just have to figure out what my fertility is and then I'll do that thing that I'm craving. It's like, no, do the thing you're craving. Do the thing you're
Bring
craving
that
now.
joy, bring that life
Mhm.
to yourself.
Yeah.
All right. I realize we didn't take a second to introduce you. So, Nicole, will you tell us your name, your background, your business? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So my name is Nicole Lange, and I am in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And I have been doing trauma-informed fertility work and pregnancies after fertility struggles for 18 years. And that's really all I do is women's health and trauma work. So anybody who's not that, I refer to other people. And I love this work, and I came to it because of my own trauma and my own reproductive. I wasn't trying to get pregnant, but just really wild period and cycle and body issues. I know I've heard you talk about your story. Nobody connected the dots. Everyone's like, well, it's all subclinical. We can't find anything technically. You could do these band-aid treatments, these things that are kind of generally spot treating things like inflammation or discomfort. And so I came to Chinese medicine. I'm an acupuncturist because I was looking for something that could go for the subclinical and connect all the bits and pieces and see me. And when I saw how well it worked, I really found the part that was the most powerful, actually, more than the dietary and the acupuncture needles and the herbs, which are amazing, but really was understanding that sort of philosophy and that way of relating to my body and health and menstrual cycle. And so I decided I was going to be kind of one part acupuncturist and one part acupuncture school for people that aren't in acupuncture school, and teach everybody their patterns and the ways of thinking about their bodies so that they could not only rely on me and getting acupuncture, but could walk out the door and feel more empowered and more educated. So that's what I do.
Awesome. I love what you said there of teaching people how to do these things for themselves so they're not solely reliant on you. I love that focus as well.
Yeah.
And I noticed on your website that you have a lot of freebies and also a lot of courses. You have a lot of blog posts in helping
Yeah.
to create this community of support and
Yeah.
of wellness and of education. I love that. Can you tell us maybe one or two of your courses that you've created?
Yeah. So I have my the flagship kind of program is a self-guided 90-ish day um, program called The Baby You Want. And the idea is the baby you want comes from a place of health and wellness, not this scarcity. I heard you talk about lack kind of mentality, that scarcity of like, well, I can feel worse every single passing month and beat down and traumatized, but I'm just going to do the treatments and the protocols and hope a baby moves in. And it's like, best case scenario there, you have to be pregnant and then somebody gives you a newborn baby. Like that's such a setup for so much struggle and suffering. So the Baby You Want program is the idea. How do we step back, do the flip the ratios, have 75% of our focus on things like felt safety and emotional processing and support and connection and feeling whole and seen and healthy. 25% is about troubleshooting the hormones and finding, making sure you're not missing anything obvious, making sure you're finding the best treatments and the best tests and the best clinics should you need those, and then seeing what comes from it. And it has amazing outcomes. It makes me so happy. I made this program because I have had a wait list for 18 years and I never wanted people not to get this information just because I couldn't personally see them. So I was like, so I spent 5 years making that program. And there's a monthly subscription, so it doesn't break the bank. It's not this huge giant fee like so many fertility programs are. I just want it to be super accessible to the whole world, whether you're doing acupuncture, whether you're not. It's not contingent on that, but it works well if people have an acupuncturist where they are. So that's my main program. And then I have another program that's just like a mini version of that. So if you're like, I'm not sure if I want to tackle that, but I'm feeling kind of burned out, it's called the Banish Fertility Burnout program, and it's 7 days. And that's just like a 5 to 10 minute video every morning for 7 days that explains a big picture concept that comes back to the person being whole and centering on what they're craving. And then there's exercises that go with that lesson during the day. And then at night, there's a prompt to journal and think about what that felt like. And so that's just a little mini class. Again, I love science. I'm a very sciencey person. I just think we have to put it in the right ratio of what we're doing for it to show up the way we want it to, the way we deserve it to.
I love the way that you have that course set up. Watch a little video in the morning, and then you have kind of all day to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And at night, you do the journaling, you do the processing, the writing it out. I think so much we buy courses thinking that will fix it, right? If I buy the course, it's gonna fix it.
Yeah.
So much like we have to do the work. We have to put in the effort if we want the results. And I love the gentleness of this approach, that it's not overwhelming, that it's bite-sized, that it's
Yeah.
7 days or 90-ish days. I like
Yeah. And it
90-ish.
and the 7 days could be 20 days or and sometimes some people do the 90 days in 30 days. It depends on where your energy is, what your resources are, what you're craving. Some people are very driven to go all in hard, and other people are like, I'm exhausted. I feel like I've been doing so much and it never shows up. I'm kind of burned out and guarded about something like this. And it's like, just do what you have the space for. And I love this phrase that says conditions being what they are, how can it be anything other than what it is? So based on your current today conditions, you're going to do whatever fertility work you're going to do in the way that reflects that. And if you want those conditions, if you want to do it differently, you just have to change your conditions slowly, tiny bit by bit, instead of thinking, oh, I should be able to do it in this totally radically different way. It's like, well, those aren't your conditions. You maybe just got your period. That's a really different condition than you just ovulated and you felt like you got your timing really wet, really right, and your BBT chart's looking great. So it's always in sync with where the person's at and what the person has the energy and the time and the resources for.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. So I prepared a couple of questions in advance. So I'm
Yeah,
just going to kind of go
great.
through those. Do you work with women um, regarding diet, exercise, energy work, mindfulness? Like what's your scope of practice or your strategy in helping women?
Yeah. So with that idea of the 25-75, so 25% is talking about the cycle, breaking down the menstrual flow, breaking down the signs and symptoms, making sure that we're not missing any obvious things that are going on. 25% is the what I call the foundation. So the foundation is felt safety, nervous system regulation, coping strategies, ways to hold the unknown and lack of control. And so anything that bumps up into that, you can imagine it's lots and lots of ways to do that. And then another 25% is what I call the house. So if you're having lots of sleep issues, we troubleshoot sleep. If you're having lots of digestive issues, we're troubleshooting what I would call the kitchen. If you've got a family of squirrels moving into your attic and it's just chatter, chatter, and anxiety, we're going to work on anxiety things. So it's whatever is going on that's jumping out to the person. So we've got the nursery, that's the fertility specific piece. We've got the foundation, we've got the house, the mind body, and then the last piece is the neighborhood. And so that's relationships and community. And so it really varies. Sometimes I'm talking about finance, sometimes I'm talking about faith, sometimes I'm talking about what specific diet and supplements a person's on. It's just what piece of that we're focused on in any given session and what feels important to them, whether it's based on their symptoms, whether it's based on their interest, whether it's based on what they think they should be doing to start. I'm just going to meet them there.
So it sounds like it's very much a person by person case.
Yeah. And it is everything. I mean, my 90-day program, everything that you listed and more is in there. And it just takes it step by step through. But when I'm working one on one, we can really just, oh, you're telling me this today. We're going to do that. A great analogy that I use or a visual that I use for people I think this would be great for your listeners to think about is if you draw like a circle on a big piece of poster paper and then you divide it into pie pieces, like a pie chart, and then you put the different parts of your life. So all those things that you just listed, you could put in a little pie piece. And then you think about how abundant and healthy does that particular piece of your pie feel? So when it comes to nutrition and diet, are you like feel really empowered and really knowledgeable and good about what you're eating, or do you feel like totally confused or conflicted and stressed about it? So you draw the line further out, the healthier it feels, and further in towards the middle of the circle. And then what I have people do is just think about if we were to do all the pie pieces and then we rolled it like a wheel down the road, where are the couple of pieces in that go kunk the hardest?
Mm.
And then we'll start there. So some people are like, oh, I do 20 billion things for my nutrition. Do you think I should go gluten free? And I'm like, I don't. But let's talk about the way that you're fighting with your partner all the time about your finances and how much you're spending on your grocery bill. Like that actually is a bigger piece that I'm hearing you talk about when you're coming in that actually feels like it could use some improvement. So anything's on the table.
I very much love that visual. Thank you. Thank you, because it
Yeah.
does put it into perspective. Is is that chunk, that piece of the pie really worth the energy that you're putting in as you neglect the others
Yeah.
too? Because I
Yeah.
imagine for that client that you were just talking about, doing the 25 steps for meal planning or eating, or like that's going to take a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of like mental load, which increases cortisol, which increases stress, which
Yeah.
snowballs.
Yeah. And cortisol, I mean, that's kind of a buzz thing, but I like explaining the science of it. So, cortisol is made up of the same building blocks as a lot of our reproductive hormones. And so, there's literally that robbing one to make the other. And because they're made out of the same building blocks, they have similarity enough that they have the same receptors. So even when you're in a cycle where you're like, it's okay, I'm injecting all those hormones or I'm doing outside hormone replacement or outside hormonal therapy, it's like, well, if your body's just flooded with a lack of safety and tons of cortisol, your hormone levels are going to be more off. It changes the feedback loops in how your body makes hormones, other hormones, domino effects, and it jams up the receptors. So even if you're trying to put them in from the outside, they don't register the same way. So it's so offensive to say, you just have to relax or stress is hurting you. That is not the way I approach it at all. But we have to scientifically see, okay, this is a factor. And if you're approaching your fertility diet in a way that stresses you out, that's one step forward, at least one step back, and a wash. So how do we focus on the diet? So a lot of what I do when you listed that list, like, do you do this? Do you do this? My main thought when I came up is like, yes, everything in moderation. It's like you should be able to get your heart rate up sometimes. We would be extinct if you could never do that and get pregnant. You should be able to have some caffeine as long as you're listening to your body in real time and not being immoderate about it. If you're not struggling with sobriety in addiction disease, you should be able to have a glass of wine sometimes if that's part of your culture and part of your socialization. And so there's no absolute right or wrongs for me. It's always within that lens of what actually shows up, what is, well, and you had one of your recent shows that was talking about, instead of saying busy, saying that's not where my priority is. When we do that 25% of just hormones, supplements, fixing, something's broken, tests, treatment, it's just saying all my priorities are on things that are broken and I don't matter as a person. My mental health, my quality of life, my relationships, my feeling safe. And so that's really important to see, like, that is not the place that the body wants to get pregnant and stay pregnant.
Yeah. So, with all of these great resources, how much of the work that you do meeting with people, or how much of that is done virtually?
Yeah. So I spend 3 days a week in my clinic seeing private patients and doing IVFs in the morning. And then I spend 2 days a week creating content and putting out information. So it depends. I mean, I know I have people in different countries. A lot of it's on demand. So I'm not virtually coaching people or seeing people a lot. I do offer that through my 90-day program, but the majority of it is me creating that content and those resources, answering questions on YouTube, getting emails in from people asking questions from India and from, different countries, and coming up with, oh, I should do a blog post about that. Somebody asked me, she was very nervous about being put under for her egg retrieval. And so I went to my friend who's a surgical nurse manager at an IVF clinic. And I said, would you answer these questions that people, if they've never been put under, they don't know and they're nervous about? And it's an extra layer that doesn't need to stress them out. And so there's a blog post for that. So, yeah, just creating content as much as I can. I love it. It gives me so much joy.
That's amazing. So, mostly you're working with people in person, but for those people who don't live near you, where
Mhm.
can they find more of these resources, your
Yeah.
course, your
Yeah.
YouTube channel? Like, where are you most sharing a
Yeah.
lot of these videos and resources?
Everything goes through the hub of my website. So, Life Healing Life. I've heard you talking about fixing and that. So, I don't know if you've ever heard this quote, but it's one of my favorites. There's a physician named Rachel Naomi Remen, and she is about being more patient centered in oncology primarily. And she said, when you see yourself as a fixer, you look at life as being broken. And you see yourself as a helper, you're looking at life as being weak. And if you see yourself in service, you see life as whole and complicated and beautiful, and you enter into service of that. So, my website is called Life Healing Life, and that is as opposed to doctor fixing patient, lifehealinglife.com. And then if you go on the top, there's a tab that says online education. And there's all the podcasts I'm on. Your podcast will be on there. There's all my courses. There's my blog. There's my YouTube channel. There's all my fertility freebies. I have several guides that are up to 50-page guides on making sure you know how to listen to your body and get your timing right and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that for those
Yeah.
resources. A couple of other questions. So, the work that you do is very individualized, very one-on-one. If you if you were to identify an overall theme of
Mm-hmm.
what prevents women from being able to conceive, or if you
Mm-hmm.
could tell women who are trying to conceive, if there's one thing that you could focus on, it would be what? How would you fill in that blank?
Yeah. I mean, I have a lesson on my blog that's called The Single Biggest Concept. There's a video and there's an article about it. So, my single biggest concept is that a whole, abundant, fabulous you equals the best fertility and the best fertility outcomes. And that is not at all to say Western treatment isn't needed or isn't super helpful, but it always has to be done within the context of the whole person being at the center of it. So that's how I would fill in that blank. It's a whole, fabulous, abundant you. Because if you do need the treatments or you do the pokes and prods and all the shots and the hormone manipulation, it makes your buffers bigger so you can tolerate it better. It makes your body feel more resourced to say yes to those treatments. It makes your mind clearer to make healthy choices. It opens up your relationships to stay supported instead of being kind of driven apart and having more differences coming between you and the people you care about. So all of that falls into place.
I love that. I love that so much because that is something that I feel like as well. In order to be thriving in life, we cannot just be physically fit. We cannot
Mm-hmm.
just be emotionally well. Like we have to look at the whole person physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, like
Yeah.
all of that goes to quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And you might still have, you might still have an autoimmune disease or you might still have a male factor major sperm issue, but it has its place and it has it's the right bandwidth for it to work then when you troubleshoot those things.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so speaking of men, do you have resources for the men, the husbands, the partners of the women who are trying
Yeah.
to conceive?
I encourage people that are partnered to do as much of my content with their partners as possible because it's sometimes we say to our kids, they'll say that's for girls or that's for boys. And I'll say, well, do you have to have a penis to be able to do it? Or do you have to have a vulva to be able to do it? Because if that's not required, then it's not just for boys or girls, right? So much of this is about everybody being whole and balanced and connected and safe. So I have had many people do my 90-day program and say, I started doing it by myself and I was talking about it so much that we turned it into a date night where every third or fourth night we watch a video and then we go for a walk and talk about it, or we have our morning coffee on the weekend and watch one of your videos and then work on it through the week. And it's so cool to see how it's not gendered. And same-sex, all the things, all the ways that people can be in it together. So, and then as far as troubleshooting the nursery piece that is specifically male sperm related, I do have information in my trying to conceive timing guide about male factor stuff in my 90-day program. There are also some specific blog posts and things that are for partners that identify as male, because there's so much of a culture of wanting to fix things and wanting to be a provider. And when it's things that we don't directly control and can't fix and can't provide answers for, it can feel really disempowering and really depressing and upsetting. So, validating that perspective of it. So, yes, I don't privately in my practice work with male factor sperm issues. I refer that, but I do sometimes see couples. I do couple sessions when it's working on like overall stress and connection. And I do have lots of content that applies.
That's awesome. I love that. I am a mom to three boys. And so there
Right.
are a lot of topics that don't naturally come up. Like, oh, yes, you have a penis, but your sister doesn't, right? Like talking about
Right.
gender differences.
Yep.
And so I make it a point to talk about like cycle related things
Yes.
comes up for me because one day they're going to have wives. They're going to need to know
Yeah.
these things and feel comfortable talking about them. And we talk about them at an age appropriate
Yeah.
way. And
Yeah.
I mean, men need to be involved just as much. So I love
Right.
that your resources are inclusive or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
inclusive to men and women, that it works for both, that as they go in as a couple,
Mhm.
um, that they can both feel supported and both feel empowered with knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. And it shows up. I mean, sometimes I'll have people come back postpartum and they're like, I thought it was too soon and I felt guilty about, having to set up an appointment and juggle all the pumping and breastfeeding and leaving the baby. And then their partner who's seen them work with me and seen how it shows up in their lives is like, no, no, go make an appointment with Nicole. Like, you need to, like, this is really stressful. Go do that. And so it's the whole, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Do-
That's true too. I
Yes.
love that you talk about your cycle. I have to say, I was just on a family vacation last weekend with my husband is one of three boys. He's the middle of three boys. And we were talking about period stuff, some of the sister-in-laws, and my son was sitting on the couch reading something and they're like, "Sorry, James, you're hearing us talk about our period stuff." And I'm like, "No, no, no. If we have to have it, he definitely gets to hear about it. I talk all about everything." And again, age appropriate, the research shows they only, as long as it's medically accurate, appropriate information, they absorb exactly how much they're capable of absorbing. And it's really good for their health and their relationships in the future, too.
Yes.
Yay. Yay for
Okay.
boys who know about periods.
Right. Hopefully. And, as a parent, you never know if you're giving too much information or if you're not giving enough. And I just rely on prayer, on intuition, on
Mm,
I feel it's appropriate to talk about this right now. And I just want to keep those lines of communication
yeah.
open in my
Yeah.
family.
I I have a friend who's a kid educator for body and sex health around the Twin Cities, and she has studies that show they absorb what's appropriate. You can read them the same page out of a book and they'll just absorb the very basics when they're younger and a little bit deeper as they get older and a little bit deeper. And one of the things that she said to me that was so powerful and important was and not to be like fear mongery about it, but she said one of the ways that people will vet kids that they're considering abusing is if they don't have any language for their body, then they know no adult talks to them about these things. And even if they wanted to, they wouldn't have the language for it. So I was like, okay, we're using all the words from the get go. So it's very medically accurate and and the other thing that my friend says who's a educator is this is such a huge part of what makes us, our relationships, our bodies, our connections healthy. And it's like, would we never talk about exercise, or would we never talk about nutrition, or never talk about sleep? Like, this is just one of those other, like, sexual wellness and reproductive wellness is well, you wouldn't let the internet or strangers teach your kids about any of those other things. So why should it be that about their bodies? So I love it. I think your intuition and your prayer is leading you in the right direction.
I love that perspective. Okay, last question I have for you. So, if there is one thing that you could tell women who are trying to conceive to start
Mhm.
doing or stop doing today to improve their chances of conceiving naturally or through IVF, I think it
Mhm.
kind of goes along with the question I asked earlier, but I'm very action oriented. So,
Yeah.
give me an actionable item
Mhm.
that women can start doing or that they can stop doing to improve their chances of
I
conceiving.
mean, I already taught about the life wheel. I would say do that, and then look at what do you need to, like, pick your lowest three, and what do you need to add or subtract to make those fill out better. And you could just set a timer and just be like, okay, my it's we're stressed about money. I'm stressed about my job every day. I'm complaining about that. And I have this strained relationship with my best friend who's pregnant right now. And then what are brainstorm ideas, and what do they need to do to fill those three parts that are really weighing on them. And sometimes it's pruning. I liked your exercise on what do I need to not say yes to because I'm prioritizing my needs or my wishes or my boundaries. So I
And
would say do
sometimes
that
it's
exercise.
really hard to do that. Sometimes we don't feel like we have permission or we're going to burn
Yeah.
bridges or we'll never be able to do that thing
Yeah.
again. And I feel like so much of our focus sometimes is how can I add more? What can I do more? What can that's
Yes.
my
Yep.
perspective anyway, because I don't want to feel like a slacker or I don't want to feel like I'm letting
Yeah.
other people down. So rather
Yeah.
than cutting it out, I'm like, how can I do more?
Yep.
That
I
perspective of what can you add or subtract that
Yeah.
is going
I
to
had a
help.
person who came into my office and she burst into tears in her first visit. And I was like, what's going on today? And she's like, I just don't know how I'm going to, I'm just like, I don't know how I'm going to fit acupuncture in. I do fertility massage. I do yoga. I do therapy on this day. Read every label. I'm obsessed over, I'm gluten free, sugar free, alcohol free, no joy. I never get my heart rate over 135. And it's like, okay, maybe you don't need to see me at all, but let's think about pruning, whether it's this or any number of those things. I think you can't. I talk about think about all the fertility options that you have like it's a menu at a restaurant, and order like you would order off of a real menu. Like, you would not order the entire menu every single meal every single day. It would make you sick, even if every single thing on the menu is potentially delicious. You have to order it and see how it feels in your body, in your mind, in your life. And then if you really love it, order that again. How great that you really like something. And if you try it and you're like, ooh, that I couldn't feel any different, maybe that actually made me feel worse, couldn't tell, it just stressed me out, then you tried that. Try something else. And if you can order what you're craving, again, could be something that's not in a fertility book, but I'm really craving, that is valid. Don't worry about ordering the thing you hate. Sometimes people are like, well, they email me or call me. It's like, I'm so terrified of needles, but I saw all these studies and my reproductive endocrinologist told me that acupuncture is good to add. And so I want to see you 8 times before my embryo transfer. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Maybe do you like massage? Like, maybe do massage or try me once and see how it actually feels, and then decide if you want to order it again or not. So yeah, order what's appealing. Don't worry about ordering the thing you don't like, and don't order the whole menu all day every day, because it won't show up. It just won't.
You'll end up sick, over
Yeah,
exhausted, and it is counterproductive.
exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. And that goes for anything. It's so easy. listening to your story, when your body's inflamed and you're in pain, or you feel out of control, or you don't know if you'll ever be out of whatever it is you're working on, there's such a desperation, there's such a deep, deep desire to do anything and do everything. But once we zoom out a little bit and see how counterproductive that actually is, it gives us that permission to say, okay, that's actually not how this is going to work. It's not actually how any of this is going to show up.
Yeah. In your email, you told me that you were working on a book.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pitching it to publishers. I haven't heard back anything yet, but the cover, if I don't know if you use video when you post things, but the cover of it is behind me. That's the proposed cover, and it's called "The Baby You Want." And the picture is, if you're listening to the audio, is a bird nest with the mama bird on top, because I think so often the fertility focus is the nest and the eggs, and the nest and the eggs. And this is, again, coming back to the idea of this is woman centered, person centered, truly holistic fertility. And that's what the book will be. It'll be basically my 90 days kind of updated and made into the written version of it.
Awesome. I'm excited for it to come out. I'm excited for you. Thank you for putting the work in. Thank you for helping women and men, like
Yeah.
bring life into the world, teaching women how to bring life to themselves so that they can sustain life. Because
Yeah.
the whole like motherhood is amazing and also very taxing. And if
Yep.
we go into it from the very beginning stressed and overwhelmed, and yes, we really want this
Yeah.
baby, this person in our lives, but if we start from this place of lack,
Yeah.
what then when they're 3 months old, they're not sleeping, they're colicky,
Yeah.
what then? So
Yeah. Yeah, you're
bring
running on fumes just to get to the finish line, and then the finish line turns out to be another ultra marathon. It's not a great setup. So
yes,
we
and
can we can change it.
learning how to bring life to yourself before adding kids into the mix, I think is so invaluable. Like
Yeah.
totally worth it, 100%. It's something that I wish I would have learned before I had kids, but I'm
Yeah.
learning it now. I'm
Yeah.
learning,
No time like the present.
right? And,
Yeah.
maybe having older kids, my oldest is 13.
Okay.
Um, he's starting into those teenage years. He's going to need these things. So we're kind of learning it together, which
Mhm.
is good. He sees me and remembers me when I was not well. He
Yeah.
remembers me when I was sick and took care of me when I was
Yeah.
sick when he
Yeah.
was 5. And now it's just like we get to go through this together, and his younger brothers are kind of coming along with it. So
Yeah.
it's been good,
It's
and
a gift.
it is. Whenever it comes, it is a gift, but man, it would have been amazing to learn how to give life to myself before
Yeah.
I brought kids into the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's conditions being what they are, right? You did it exactly when it made sense for you to do it. And also,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be nice to have a culture that gives us different conditions and teaches it to us from the get-go? So that's what you're doing for your kids' conditions. And that's a big part of the baby you want, is that we want this next generation. We want something different and better than what we had. And I think we've always, generation by generation as a whole, we're doing that. But I think it's a real tipping point moment where we have to be extra intentional about that, because there's just a lot of intensity in the world right now. So, really important to model and to live and to cultivate these good, abundant things.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nicole, for your time today. I loved learning from you. I'm going to share links to your website and to the many resources that you have. Thank you for the work that you do in the
Thank
world
you.
and for bringing life to so many people and to me, even just our interaction today. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm grateful for the work you're doing, and it takes a village in all the ways. So I'm excited to share this episode in your podcast with my audience and listeners too. So this is such a joy to get to collaborate in these ways.
Thank you so much. And I will talk to you later.
Sounds great. Bye.
It was such an honor to be able to meet with Nicole today and learn more about her resources that she has for those who are trying to conceive. She has amazing resources, lots of blog posts, free videos, courses on her website, Life Healing Life. And if you are in the Minnesota area and you want to meet with Nicole, you can, on her website, you can become a client of hers and check out more that she has. In the show notes is all the information that you're going to need, access to her YouTube, her blog, her fertility freebies, her approach to conceiving, to fertility is very much well-rounded. I loved her analogy of a pie, and all of the things that we do in our lives are like a pie. And if we were to roll that pie down the road, where would we feel the most resistance or the stop and roll? Where would we feel the chunk missing? And that is true in our lives, whether we're trying to conceive or we're just trying to live intentionally. If we are throwing all of our energy into just one area, we're neglecting all of the other pieces of that pie. That is where my philosophy comes in, is that when we are treating people, whether it's emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, financially, we have to look at the person as a whole and look at the bigger picture and zoom out. So I love, love, love Nicole's perspective on this. And just want to thank you guys for being here, for listening. I'll be back next week with more episodes or interviews. Thank you for joining me today. I love you and I'm rooting for you.